Hello, Mercurial mercenaries. Welcome to episode 4 of the 2 Through review. Because we have listened to Alt J, Blossoms, and we listened to Dinosaur. This is Ed Sheeran's album, which is called, wait for it, you'll remember, my mercenaries,
Divide.
It's called Divide. You'll remember because we spoke about it before. This is the album that ruled the world. It went to number 1 in every chart, including people's hospital charts at the end of their beds.
It was literally every chart, everywhere.
This is the album that every track on the album, due to the way that streaming was calculated a few months ago, every track on this album went into the charts, and the top 20, at least the UK top 20, was nothing but this guy, Ed Sheeran. Say hello, Perfect 10.
Hello.
You have said before that you own the likes of Dido and Meatloaf.
Yeah, and I'm going to add to that Westlife.
Westlife, all right.
There was a lot of Westlife going on in this one.
That's fine. What I was going to say is, if I had to guess at the sort of album that you would buy if you weren't with me, I would guess that you'd buy this, Ed Sheeran's Divide.
I would have to agree that I found it quite easy to listen to. I didn't like all of it, and which we'll get to as we go through our track by track analysis.
If we do a track by track analysis,
of course. But yeah, parts of it. More than one track. I could have been listening to Westlife. There's only one singer and not several like there is in Westlife. But if you were to tell me he was doing Westlife songs, yeah. I
don't know anything about Westlife. That's Louis Walsh's band, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. There's a gap, a little pause here because I'm just loading up Wikipedia because I don't know anything about Ed Sheeran. Look,
or Westlife apparently.
Let's just mention a couple of things here, right? Before I start talking about some general details. Ed Sheeran. Watched him at the Brit Awards. I think it was Ed Sheeran and Stormzy playing. Liked it. He had that Shape of You song, which I actually thought was quite good. And he headlined Glastonbury this year. And before we get on to anything else, I just wanted to say that he headlined Glastonbury with his little mini guitar, the same sort of guitar that Guitar Struggles bought recently, but a little mini acoustic guitar and a couple of looper pedals. And he headlined Glastonbury with no backing tapes, just an acoustic guitar and a looper pedal. And I don't really know whether I'm an Ed Sheeran fan or not, but I thought that was quite spectacular. And in a way, I wish this album was more like just him and a looper pedal, rather than bloody Irish jigs and pianos and shit.
To me, it was a bit all over the place. Like, whether we do a full track by track analysis, I'm still going to start at number 1. What was that all about? Like, I would rather just listen to The Streets or any other. It just didn't fit.
It's interesting you said that, because when we were listening to the first track, which I quite liked, basically it's white boy rap.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd rather be listening to The Streets. Private. What am I what's the debut album called? His debut album, Mike Skinner's debut album, Original Pirate Material. I'd rather be listening to Original Pirate Material, but I can't say that Ed Sheeran raps badly. Remember when Robbie Williams released that rap album that he did?
Oh, yes,
Chatterbox,
vaguely.
Rude Box. Did you ever listen to that album? So I didn't.
I didn't listen to all of it.
Was it any good?
No.
Was it shit?
It was awful. It was awful. This first track, yeah, my thoughts by the end of the first track was, I would rather be listening to The Streets. It just didn't seem. It didn't shit itself. Did you just say? I almost did say it didn't shit itself.
I think this album did shit itself. It shit itself over 16 tracks, 16 long, arduous tracks.
I don't get what the title whether the title, how that reflects or relates to the content of the album.
Title of what?
The album.
Well,
But to me, it did seem quite disjointed, if not divided, but disjointed.
well, let's just hold on a second there. Well, two issues, right? First of all, and this is from memory, Ed Sheeran names... Right, his first album was called... It was a plus sign, right?
Right.
His second album was a minus sign, I think. No, a multiply.
Multiply.
His second album was a
So
multiply.
hence divide.
This third album is a divide, so his fourth album is going to have to be subtract. Right, so my Mercenaries, they're not called anything, these albums. The first album is a plus sign, a cross. The second album is a multiply sign, a cross.
An X.
This album is an X, that's better. This album is a divide sign.
Line with 2 dots.
So the problem is going to... Right, so then one after this is going to have to be a subtract, because that's just what it's going to have to be.
Basic arithmetics.
So the fifth album is going to be what? Sine?
Squared.
Cosine? Tangent? What about tan?
Tangent.
Square? Oh, actually,
Square.
he's got some places to go here, because he could have a little 2.
Squared.
A little 2. Floating in the air. If you've put a little 2 on
10
an album...
to the power of isn't really a catchy title. Although, actually, 10 to the power of could be a really catchy title for an album.
10 to the power of...
I think we know what Mercurial's next album might be called.
First track on this album, right? The one you've slagged off and I said I quite liked was called Eraser. Because he goes, I'm rapping in my street and I'm rapping in my homeboy. Eraser. And it's got this chorus where he keeps going, Eraser. And I kept thinking of erasure.
Yeah.
And eraser. Like when you shave,
A razor.
Pieces. No, seriously, look.
For the benefit of the tape.
Hang on. Right, so Eraser. I liked Eraser. You didn't like Eraser. What do you think about the whole rapping thing that he does?
I didn't like
it
it from Ed Sheeran, and I didn't know it. To me, it almost seemed like he was, whether it's the record label, whether it's his choice, it's like somebody says, you've got to do something new, mate, so we think this will go down well. And it didn't even, the way he sang, it didn't even sound like he was comfortable speaking that way. Like, there's no reason why people who normally speak normally have to start speaking like, stop putting letters on the end of their letters and stop filling up sentences and using... it doesn't sound right. It just sounds forced and false, and it didn't...
I thought he pulled off the rapping, sort of talk rapping thing quite well. I didn't think it was embarrassing. At least on the first song, I thought it was quite good. And I particularly like the eraser.
See, what you're reminding me of...
Eraser.
What you're reminding me of slightly with that is Vic Reeves in Shooting Stars. Iranu. Yeah, pretty much that. Just that.
Moving on to the next song. Castle on the Hill. That was a big single, wasn't it? Because I've heard of that one before. And I quite liked it.
Quite like that.
Quite like it. Everyone likes Ed Sheeran. That's the way it seems. But anyone who considers himself into music or plays in a band seems to have the natural inkling, not the design necessarily, but the motivation to say that they don't like Ed Sheeran. Because now that he's taken over the world of music, so it's now, it's probably not cool to say you like Ed Sheeran. Would that be correct? I mean, not that you'd know, because you admit liking bloody... I mean, if I look over...
You won't find them there, Mercurial 6.
Number.
You won't find them there. Mercurial number 6. You won't
The.
find them there. The Mercurial number 6.
That's better. Well, where are they?
Because they're all in one of those Velcro CD wallets in the car.
God, people who have Velcro CD wallets.
I knew
as well.
that was a particularly nice touch. I knew you'd really appreciate the Velcro CD wallet.
Hang on.
And they're my favourite CDs, you see. That's why they're in the Velcroed CD wallet.
Then there was a song called Dive. Can't remember it. Shape of You was the next one. Shape of you. I'm in love with your body. Oh, your body. Oh, I can feel your body, smell your body. Is he smelling the body or what?
I think
what was he
he
doing with it?
is.
He's do you think that Ed Sheeran's a little bit of a dirty little scrubber?
Oh, he is, because he talked in one of them about somebody bleaching their arsehole.
Oh, I quite like
I
the
liked
lyrics to
that.
that song. What song was that? There was a song
That
where
was
he was.
the other white rap.
That was a really good one. He was talking.
I want to know who he was talking about.
It was his girlfriend's new lover,
Right.
and he was describing him as going to the gym six
Basically
times
like
a week,
pretty boy.
wearing sunglasses indoors, and he's even got a bleached arsehole.
Yeah.
And I quite like the lyrics of that. It reminds me of a song that I did in a band years ago when I was in my teens, and we called it Joe Blogs. It was just a song about your typical chavvy, keved up. The problem is now someone listening to this is going to be called Kevin, and in the 90s he was going to be your generic
What, keved up? Breathe.
God. Oh, New Man. That song was probably called New Man. Because track 8's called New Man. Then there was another song on there called Galway Girl.
Yeah.
Holy hell, what did you think of Galway Girl?
Right. Given that the first track on the
Irish
album...
jigs.
Yeah.
Fuck off and die.
It's such a shame this is only audio.
I'm fully clothed.
It's fully clothed, but
Can't
that was some quite exceptional dancing, seat dancing. Given
seat dancing.
Yeah, chair dancing. Everyone knows what chair dancing is.
I've never heard of chair dancing.
That's where the hand jive came from.
The what?
The hand jive.
You're
He's
kidding
being
me.
rude.
Oh, is that? Oh, you're
No,
seriously?
the hand jive.
What the fuck? What? I've never heard that before in my life. I would have assumed
Right, that's
hand
where
jive
you
meant masturbation.
tap your knees and clap your hands and then bang fists on top of each other and wave your hands like in a sort of zombie mummy dance and then wiggle your fingers with your finger on your
and
elbow.
hope someone doesn't walk in on you while you're doing it. You have to frantically
The
switch your
hand
phone off.
jive. Because back in the days when people would go to like dances that weren't dances because they were all seated, so they wanted
What?
to.
How can you have a dance where everyone's
It
seated?
wasn't dances. It was like they'd go to like shows and they would dance, and that was where the hand jive
She's
came
just
from.
a devil woman with evil on her mind. She's just a devil woman. She's gonna get you. Mm. Can you remember anything else to say about Ed Sheeran? There was a song called Barcelona. Ed Sheeran's obviously a fan of the place Barcelona, as are we.
As are we.
As are we. In fact, when people...
It was the first time that we met.
Was that Shakespeare?
No.
Barcelona!
Such a beautiful horizon.
No, you should have started on the first line.
Barcelona.
Why don't you sing Barcelona and I'll sing the verse bit.
Barcelona.
What key are you going to sing it in?
I don't know. You have to start me off.
Hang on. I'm going to go, It was the first time that we met. So you got to go... No, but you got to start on the first line.
How else
No,
can
the
we
first line would be
together?
Barcelona. It was the first. It was. Oh, and then if I start low enough, we can carry this on. It was the first time. Oh, fuck, Freddie Mercury. Hang on. It was the first time. Why don't I start lower? It was the first time that we met. Right, so you go Barcelona.
Barcelona.
It was the first time that we met.
Barcelona.
Oh, how can I forget? What are the rest of the words?
Oh no, that's not even that.
No. What I was going to say was,
We're fans of Barcelona, the
we-
place.
If we could go anywhere right now,
We'd go to Barcelona.
we'd probably sit outside a place in Barcelona, a cafe in Barcelona, and drink sangria
and eat
and eat paella.
eat paella.
It's a lovely place. And this is Ed Sheeran's take on it.
And it's why it was such a tragedy, and why we remarked in the previous podcast that they've also experienced the terrible tragedy and terror attack as they did, because it really is one of our favourite places.
We don't talk about terrorist attacks on this channel. We sing random Cliff Richard songs.
Okay.
I think you've completely misjudged what your role is in this room at the moment. I was going to say, I didn't much like this take on Barcelona. It didn't really do anything for me. Was there an Irish jig in it? Probably wasn't.
I'm going to say there's probably a Spanish guitar, but I don't recall.
Actually, do you know what he did start doing? He started speaking Spanish in the song, singing in Spanish. I just wanted to slap. I'll tell you what, Ed Sheeran has the sort of face that I just want to slap.
Is it because he's ginger? Because it is
No.
kind of a predisposition for a lot of people.
No,
Okay,
it's not because he's ginger.
good. Just ruling that one out.
Might be a little. No, it's not because he's ginger. Actually, yeah, it is because he's ginger.
Ginger's just got slappable faces, right?
Yeah,
Not-
it's because he's ginger. No, it's not because he's ginger. So, Debbie, what is it exactly you see in the multi-millionaire Paul Daniels?
What is it that first attracted you to the multi-millionaire Paul
What is it
Daniels?
women see in Ed Sheeran? That's what I want to know. When he walks into a room, I tell you what, right? All joking aside, Ed Sheeran did gig after gig after gig. He played probably every scummy pub in the country. He can get up on a stage by himself, like I've said, and
Make it his own.
make it not make it his own. He did more than that. He sounded like a full band,
Yeah.
just with himself on a looper pedal. And this album, I haven't listened to the other ones, Plus and Add and Divide and whatever, but this Divide and Conquer, this album, what am I trying to say here? This album had lots of catchy songs on it. He can certainly write a melody. He's got an ear for a melody. The production was spot on. It sounded like your kind of standard 2017 kind of produced kind of, I hate to say it. I don't know if I'd say it to his face if he was in here.
I think that's
I
where
won't use the
my
word generic.
comments about Westlife come in. It did sound... It went from...
He's better. No, wait a minute. He's better than Westlife.
No, hang on. It went from, like we said, the white boy rap through to Irish jigs, through to chart toppers and club songs in their own rights, and then a couple of the tracks, I think that's what you mean. It's that kind of very manufactured sound. It just was a bit... That's my comment about it. It was a bit Westlife. It was just a bit...
I didn't get the Westlife thing.
No, well...
This guy is talented.
No, he is
He can
talented.
sing, he can play, he can write a tune.
He
He's a
is
talented
talented,
bloke.
but there were elements of this that made it sound to me like somebody in his production team or his record label or something was saying,
I bet
do
these were.
something different. We want to hear something different. And some of it sounded a little bit forced and a little bit unnatural. And most of what he sings is actually it is very natural. Like you say, someone who can take an acoustic guitar and fill a room with a guitar in their voice doesn't need manufactured production sound behind it. And a couple of the tracks just sounded a little bit that way.
Yeah. I always think of like a bloke with an acoustic guitar as being like a singer-songwriter. I'm just looking through the Wikipedia page here where it says the writers for the songs. And you take a song like Shape of You, and the credited writers are SHEERAN, Steve Mack, McDade, Tamika Cottle, Kevin Briggs, and Candy Burrus. Take a song like Galway Girl with that stupid bloody jig. SHEERAN, Amy Wadge, Damien McKee, Eamon Murray, McDade, Liam Bradley, Nima Dunn, Sean Graham, Foy Vance. I think there's songwriting teams going on here. I think this is just as much a commercial produced album as something like
Westlife.
Hit Me Baby One More Time was in 99, 98, 99.
That's my point. It sounded like the record label were putting him in a direction that they wanted, not necessarily a natural and sort of consistent sound or style. It seemed to me there were like three distinctly different types. And I'm not saying that an album should all sound the same, because that's not true either. But it just, to me, sounded a little bit disjointed and at times a little bit forced.
I'm looking through the notes of the album here. This is quite interesting because when we were listening to it earlier, there was a point in the album, I thought it was sort of middling of the album, towards the beginning. Let me just check where it was. Oh, well, third song. Yeah, it was towards the beginning. Well, there was this guitar solo played. And I thought, Ed Sheeran's, he can actually play a bit of a mean guitar solo. Looking through the credits here.
Don't shatter it. Don't.
Well, guess who played the guitar solo?
Not Ed Sheeran.
A bloke called Angelo Misterioso.
Oh, was that the Barcelona one?
No. There's a song called Dive, third track in.
Dive.
There was this quite nice guitar solo. It sounded very traditional. Credited to Angelo Misterioso. Do you know who that is?
Not Ed Sheeran.
There's not actually anyone called Angelo Misterioso. Have you ever heard of a man called Eric Clapton?
I have heard of a man called Eric Clapton. I've also heard he's a little bit good on a guitar.
He plays guitar on the track 3.
Wow. So that would explain why there was quite a spectacular guitar solo from Mr. Eric Clapton.
SHEERAN got sued recently by TLC because they said that his song Shape of You sounded very much like their song No Scrubs. That one we go,
Scrubs, I don't want no scrub. Scrub is a little bit
me. Take from the passenger's side and the best man's ride.
Try to holler at me.
Holler, 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 holler. Me.
I don't want no scrubs. Scrub is a little bit.
From the passenger's side and my best man's car. I'm going to the wedding tomorrow.
Right. We literally just don't know any of the other words, do we?
No, I know the song. TLC.
Yeah.
So he got sued, and he had to. It went to a panel, or he had to admit. I think he just admitted it and said, "Yeah, there you go. There's all the money for the song." I've listened to both songs together. I don't know. I don't really hear it. I understand. I'm not thick. I can hear that they sound like rudimentally similar, but I don't get it. I think we've gone too far these days with the idea that if one song sounds like another song, it's enough to sue and claim copyright infringement. Whereas I grew up, and I'm only talking about the 90s here, but I grew up with bands like Oasis taking a song like, I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to build myself a house and not know where I've been. Oh, shake along with me. Or cigarettes and alcohol. But don't give me that face up. Is it my imagination, or have I finally found something worth? Get it on, bang a gong, get it on. No one was suing over this shit. back then? Why is it now that people go, oh, listen to that on the radio? Oh, look at that, listen to that. Do you know why it probably is? Because no one's ripped any of my songs off. If Ed Sheeran ripped one of my songs off,
You'd be right after him.
I'd be right up his ass, wouldn't I? Bleaching his fucking pubic. I don't need to say fucking there. Bleaching his fucking pubic hairs. Ginger. Our arse has pubic.
Yeah.
They're not, are they?
Yeah.
No. Actual round the anus. They're not pubic, are they? They're not like wiry pubic things. They're like fine, like down.
I wouldn't know. I thought you were just saying, like, by definition. I wouldn't know what they look like. I've never seen a hairy arse in my life.
Holy shit! Do you want to hear who was involved in the recording of this album?
No. Yeah.
No, I don't really have it.
No, I thought I answered it as if you were saying, "Do you know who's involved in the recordings?" My answer
Holy
was,
hell! Right. This is ridiculous, right? This is absolutely ridiculous. I've just praised Ed Sheeran for being able to go onto the stage at Glastonbury and genuinely go on with a little acoustic guitar and a looper pedal and sound like a massive band and win over the world. No, he wasn't miming. Do you want to hear who was involved with the production of the album associated with that tour? We have Leo Abrahams on guitar, Laurie Anderson viola, Graham Archer engineer, Brent Arrowwood assistant engineer, Charlotte Audrey art direction design, Thomas Bartlett keyboards, piano, Fenella Barton violin, Benny Blanco, I'm not making these names up, Benny Blanco, additional production executive producer, keyboards producer, programming background vocals, Leon Bosch double bass, Liam Bradley piano backing vocals, Carl Brazil drums, Archie Carter assistant engineer, Nick Cartledge flutes, picola, Megan Cassidy viola, Travis Cole background vocals, Ben Cook A&R, Nick Cooper cello, Johnny Costello art direction design, Damien McGee accordion background vocals, Mandira Dissaram violin, Matthew Denton violin, James Dickinson violin, DJ Final scratching, Alison Dodds violin, Eamon Murray bodhran background vocals, Mike Elizondo drum programming, keyboards, piano, producer, synthesizer, bass, Brian Finnegan tin whistle, Michael Freeman assistant mixer, Duncan Fuller assistant engineer. He's got assistant twice. Duncan Fuller assistant engineer, assistant to the assistant engineer, Gio Gabriel background vocals, Oscar Golding bass, Sean Graham accordion background vocals, Lawrence Love Greed piano, Shari Screen clarinets, Peter Gregson cello conductor, Stuart Hawkes mastering, Adam Hawkins engineer. Don't fall asleep. Wayne Hernandez background vocals, Will Hicks electric guitar percussion, producer programming, Ed Howard A&R, Martin Jackson violin, Catherine Jenkinson cello. This is the guy who's on stage by himself at Glastonbury. Margie Johnson violin, Matt Jones assistant, Simon Hewitt Jones violin, Patrick Kiernan violin just by himself with a looper pedal, Trevor Lawrence Jr. drums, Chris Laws drums engineer, Jay Lewis drums, not good enough to have one drummer, I have three fucking drummers, Tim Lowe cello, Steve Mack keyboards producer, Amar Malik background vocals, Kirsty Mangan violin, John Mayer electric guitar, Johnny McDade guitar, acoustic guitar, keyboards, piano, producer, programming, background vocals, Jeremy Morris violin, Langelo Misterioso, who we know now is Eric Clapton, guitar, Niam Dunn fiddle, backing vocals. This is the guy, remember, just ginger hair, shirt, pair of trousers probably, or maybe it was shorts, can't remember, looper pedal and acoustic guitar. George Alton assistant at Glastonbury in front of hundreds of thousands of people. This is what people like me are won over by. Pino Palladini bass, Philip Peterson strings, Dan Percy engineer, Jan Rogulski violin, Rachel Roberts viola, David Rowan cover art photography, Mickey Rowe keyboards, Joe Rubel drum programming engineer, guitar, electric guitar synthesizer, Ben Russell double bass, Katona Sato viola, Chris Schlafana engineer, Robert Sellens assistant engineer, Ed Sheeran bass, body percussion, cello, cover painting, drums, executive producer, guitar, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, mandolin, percussion, producer, vocals, background vocals. Good job he's there somewhere, isn't it?
He's got a black cat, all of them lot.
He's got a black cat, all of them lot. He can do body percussion.
Is there a banjo joke
Matthew
in there?
Sheeran banjo string. Holy shit, I've snapped my banjo string. Matthew Sheeran string arrangements. Hilary Skew's coordination. What the fuck does that mean? She can tell you which way is left or right. Seriously, there's someone here credited with coordination.
Well, I reckon with a list that long, someone's got to know where people.
Who says it's a long list? Francis Farewell Starlight, backing rhythm vocals. Mark Spike Stent, mixing. Jeff Swan, assistant mixer. Leo Taylor, drums, another drummer.
Another drummer.
Ryan Tedder, piano. John Tilley, Hammond organ, piano. Jesse Ware, background vocals. Andy Wells, assistant. And Deborah Widdup, violin.
Is that the end? Is that the end?
That's the people that...
support one guy on a stage with a guitar and a looper pedal.
That's the people that played on this album. And for me, harking back to how we started this, I think there'd be much more to be said if Ed Sheeran would recreate what he can do live on an album rather than this overproduced nonsense. But he's taken over the world and everyone loves this album. Ed Sheeran can't win the Mercury Prize. I think Adele's been up for it before with one of her albums that took the world over. Coldplay have been up for it before. I think the last time like a real proper straightforward commercial band won it was perhaps them People. There was moments on this album where I thought I was listening to Everything I Do. What the hell was that song called? Everything I Do It For You.
Bryan Adams, yep.
You know it's true. I need to get the right key. You know it's true. Everything I do it for you.
17 weeks at number 1.
Is that all it had? 17 weeks?
Pretty
Ed
sure
Sheeran
it was...
spits on 17 weeks. Ed Sheeran wouldn't get out of bed for 17
like
weeks.
Your
Love
and no
other
could give more love. There's nowhere unless you're there all the time, all the way. I can tell you what the B-side to that one was. She's only happy when she's dancing.
She's only happy when she's frapping.
Probably. That's probably true.
I can rap. What's wrong with a white boy rapping? That's a weird thing that we say these days.
No.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing's wrong.
Eminem's popping his head around the door right now and he's saying, hey, you guys, who the fuck do you think you are?
Am I not right in thinking that the Singer of the Streets is also a white boy rapping?
Yeah.
So
is
there is
talking
nothing
different
wrong.
to rapping? Because like Mike Skinner from the Streets, he talks. This is original pirate material. I'm talking, I'm walking, I'm talking, I'm stalking, and I'm.
It's poetry,
balking,
and if you can say it,
talking.
When you listen to who's the crazy guy that's on Have I Got News for You, John Cooper Clarke,
John Stephen Edward Dickinson.
I think he's called John Cooper Clarke.
Never heard of him.
He's a poet.
Never heard of him. Does he know it?
I think he does. The way he speaks, like...
Who? Hang on, let me Google.
I think he's called John Cooper Clarke. He's not a rap artist.
John Cooper Clarke. John Cooper Clarke. Oh yeah, there is someone called John Cooper Clarke. Hang on.
You know how much I love...
old bloke.
Yeah.
He looks just like...
He looks like an old version
Ronnie
of
Wood.
Noel Fielding. Ronnie Wood.
He looks like Ronnie Wood.
He does look like Ronnie Wood.
Oh, he's that bloke and he's like that. He's fucking like that. He's fucking
He's
cigarette out of his
northern.
mouth. He's northern, is he?
He's brilliant to listen to.
What accent am I doing then, love?
Not. It is...
Eat up, love.
What Mike Skinner does
I need a cup of tea, my love.
What Mike Skinner does is speaking poetically to music that makes it sound like rap. There is a difference between somebody who can speak the words as if they were written as a form of poetry. It's the rhythm, it's the cadence of it, it's everything, and you put it to the right music and you put the right emphasis, the right intonation behind it, and that is why the Streets sounds great. And I just don't think Ed Sheeran had that. This album didn't have that. I agree with
everything you said, basically. I think that it actually irritates me when I hear phrases like a white boy rap. suggestion
it's
that
poetry to music.
anyone who says nonsense like that needs to listen to the Streets debut album and The Grand Don't Come For Free. And the bit where I started to disagree with you is the fact that you just think that Ed Sheeran can't do that.
No, I'm saying he didn't do it as well as that. I'm saying it didn't sound as clever and as authentic. I was going to say it didn't sound as clever or as convincing as what I was going to say, but authentic is the word.
It doesn't sound as authentic as Mike Skinner.
No. Or some others, like even...
Or maybe Eminem. He's not doing an Eminem. I wouldn't want to criticise him too much. Ed Sheeran on this album is not trying to do an Eminem style rap. He's just syncopating. He's just talking the lyrics rather than singing the lyrics. And I quite like that. Jarvis Cocker does it in a totally different way. We said that Robbie Williams has tried to do it. I never heard that album. You say it was a failure, yeah?
I don't think it was his best. No, I don't think anybody, critically.
Oh, I remember
it was his best.
So I said that I don't think this album can win the Mercury Prize.
Yeah. Because
it's too mainstream and it's like the token main. This year's, I can't remember what the other albums are, but this year's token mainstream album seems to be this one. But the Mercury Prize is historically quite contrary as well. And there's always the chance that I'll eat all the clothes I'm wearing now, but there's always the chance that they'd actually pick this album as the winner, just to prove everybody wrong. So, as it stands, out of the 4 albums we've listened to, would this be a worthy winner over the other 3? Just out of the 4.
I actually think Alt J still offer something more. To me, the thing about exactly what you've just said, the thing about the Mercury Prize that makes it not any other of the prizes, in the other award ceremony groups and categories, is you want somebody that's not mainstream. It's something and somebody, an artist or an act, that are not already sold out. I mean,
do you think Ed Sheeran's sold out?
I mean, it's mainstream. It's mass popularity. There are people who will listen to it without actually appreciating what the music is, because that's the nature when things become so. When every radio station plays it all day long, all the time, and that's not the artist's fault. And the artist shouldn't be punished for that.
I have arguments on my channel with people about this sort of thing. That there'll be people on listening to this right now typing how much they hate this album and hate Ed Sheeran. But the thing is, you can't criticise someone for something being overplayed, because I think, like, how many times in my life have I heard Beat It by Michael Jackson, right? It's just on all the time. But every time it plays, I just think, this might be the greatest song I've ever heard. So overplaying something isn't necessarily a reason to turn on it.
No, you're right.
Maybe it's that it wasn't that good in the first place. Is anything on this album really that good?
Well, I can only really think of the second track is...
Castle in the Sky.
One that I would say, that is what I do hear often.
Do you like it?
But I do like it.
I quite like it.
I like it. So
I quite like The Shape of You, which gets a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
People say the lyrics are a sweaty little ginger bloke just rubbing his sweaty little palms over some woman while he smells her knickers. But I quite like it. I quite like it. I think that Ed Sheeran's probably a pompous little prick, and if he was in this room now, he'd be right up himself. But then he's a billionaire. The most successful musician on the planet right now. He's probably eating Adele with a knife and fork.
That'll take a while.
Yeah.
I just mean because she wouldn't have stopped talking first.
Yeah.
I
think I don't know. I don't really want to be too hard on Ed Sheeran. I think it's too easy to. This review would have been too easy just to say Ed Sheeran's an overrated thing.
I don't mean overrated.
I think he's pretty good.
I don't mean overrated. I just think the other nominees will still be struggling and fighting for radio playtime, for air playtime, for recognition, for exposure, and something like the Mercury Prize, to me, that, you know, there's underdogs in here, and I think it's nice to see support and recognition and opportunities for the underdogs. And Ed Sheeran is not an underdog, and I don't mean he shouldn't be allowed the
Are there any
prize. Or do we just call them dogs?
No, what are there overdogs then? I never really thought about this.
Well, that would be the pack leader, and
So Ed Sheeran is the overdog.
Out of the 12 nominees, you've said yourself he's the token mainstream. He's probably the one of all the 12 nominees that you could name now.
I can't remember who else was in it.
Exactly.
Hang on. No, wait a minute.
No, but that's my point.
No, that's not your point. Hang on.
No. Okay, that's one of my points. That the name is already there. It's known and it's established. And
it's going to be more than that. Hang on. Look, we've got. Yeah, right. There's no one else I've heard of.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So, would you rather listen to this album or Dinosaur?
I personally would still rather listen to this album.
Would you rather listen to this album or Blossoms?
Liked Blossoms, liked Alt J.
Which one's winning right now?
Alt J for me.
Right. Let's put your hand out. Put your hand out, everyone. I'm on Mercenaries. Put your arm out. Put your hand out.
To avoid any confusion.
In front of you, and point your thumb towards 9 o'clock. What are you doing with your thumb? What position are you putting it into, my girl, for Ed Sheeran's Divide? Before he releases next year's...
Subtract. Negative.
Subtract. And the next year after that's percentage sign.
I like cosine tangent, but...
I think he's going to go for percent. I reckon next year it's subtract, and the year after that it's going to be the percent sign. Percent.
Is he just working his way along the buttons on a calculator?
Yes.
On a standard Casio?
I'll tell you what, if we could find... Anyway, put your arm out. Where are you putting it?
I'm going to go to a 10 o'clock, because it's better than a 9, because a 9 o'clock is just in the middle, neither here nor there. It's a good album. Can't deny that. Everything about the album sales tells us that. But I didn't like the variety in it, from the street rap type through to the Irish jigging, through to the slightly forced sounding manufactured Westlife style studio recordings. I'm not wrong.
You're giving it a what? You're giving it a 10 o'clock?
I'm giving it a 10 o'clock.
Right. I'm going to say now that I've got my arm out, I liked a few of the songs on this album, more than 2. I liked a handful of the songs. I thought there were some great melodies, some catchy stuff going on. I can do with never hearing any of the Irish jig shit ever again, so I'm putting my thumb down to... I'm going to give it an 8 o'clock.
Well, an 8 o'clock,
An 8 o'clock. So you're giving it a 10 o'clock, I'm giving it an 8 o'clock. That rounds up to a 9 o'clock.
So that's an average score of 9 o'clock.
We're giving Ed Sheeran's Divide an average score. Thank you, my mercenaries. Thank you for listening. Say goodbye. Perfect 10.
Go on, just call me perfect again.
Perfect 10.
Goodbye.
Over. And...